Welcome to The Explainer. So, how on earth does a civilization last for over 3,000 years? Today, we're unpacking the epic story of ancient Egypt, tracing its incredible journey from being the world's very first nation-state all the way to its final fall.
First things first, to really get ancient Egypt, you've got to wrap your head around its insane longevity. We're not talking about a few centuries here. This was a civilization that endured for over 3 millennia. That's an almost unheard of stretch of continuous history.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to follow the complete arc, how it all began, how a single river basically shaped its destiny, its absolute golden age of power, the slow decline that followed, and finally, the incredible echoes it left behind in history.
So, let's rewind the clock way back to around 3100 BC. This isn't just the start of another kingdom. What we're talking about is the birth of what many historians consider the world's very first unified nation-state.
The whole thing kicks off with one guy, a king named Narmer, who does something absolutely revolutionary. He manages to bring two competing cultures, Upper and Lower Egypt, together under a single ruler. That one act of unification really set the stage for the next 3,000 years of power.
All right, so they've unified, but how did they manage to stick around and not just survive, but actually thrive for so many centuries? Well, the answer really lies in two incredibly powerful forces that became the very foundation of their kingdom.
It all boiled down to two pillars, two absolutely crucial foundations. First, you've got the pharaoh. He wasn't just a king, he was seen as a living god on earth. And second, you have the Nile River. Its predictable, life-giving floods were literally the engine of their entire civilization.
And the pharaoh's number one job, it was to uphold this thing they called Ma'at. Now you can think of it as the cosmic glue holding everything together, this core concept of order, truth, and balance. As long as the pharaoh maintained Ma'at, the gods were happy, the Nile would flood, and Egypt would be prosperous. It was that simple.
And what's just wild is how quickly they put all the pieces of a powerful state together. I mean, look at this. In just over a century, they've got a unified territory, they've established a capital city at Memphis, and they've even developed a sophisticated writing system, hieroglyphics, to manage the whole shebang. So, with those solid foundations in place, Egypt was ready to become a real powerhouse. Let's fast forward a bit in time to see the civilization at its absolute peak, the apex of what's called the New Kingdom.
This is the era, the New Kingdom, when Egypt isn't just a powerful nation anymore. Nope, it transforms into a full-blown, dominant empire that's projecting its power way beyond its own borders.
And you can see the proof of their power everywhere you look. Their military got a major upgrade with things like war chariots, and they expanded the empire south into Nubia, which was rich with gold, and northeast into the Levant. All that conquest brought in just staggering amounts of wealth, which they used to fund these massive building projects and, of course, the lavish tombs in the Valley of the Kings.
But you know how these stories often go. After hitting such an incredible peak, sometimes the only way to go is down. The empire began a long, slow period of decline. The Golden Age just couldn't last forever.
So you have to ask, right? How can an empire this powerful, this old, actually fall apart? Well, the thing is, it wasn't one single catastrophe. It was more like a perfect storm of problems, both inside and out.
It was really death by 1,000 cuts. From the inside, you had power struggles that weakened the pharaoh's authority. From the outside, Egypt was getting hammered by repeated invasions from groups like the Sea Peoples and the Assyrians. And to top it all off, you had a string of weaker pharaohs who just couldn't handle all these crises. This slow unraveling finally came to a head with two major events that really marked the final end of ancient Egypt as an independent, self-governing power.
The first big blow came in 332 BCE when Alexander the Great rolled in. That was the end of native Egyptian rule, forever. Then, the final nail in the coffin comes a few centuries later. After the death of Cleopatra, the last pharaoh, Egypt gets completely swallowed up by the next big superpower, Rome.
And you know, this quote just hits the nail on the head. The whole epic 3,000-year story of ancient Egypt is really about one thing, this constant struggle to create unity and then defend that unity against all the forces trying to tear it apart, both from the inside and out. Which kind of leaves us with one last question, doesn't it? The political empire fell, sure, but did ancient Egypt ever really go away? I mean, its influence, its incredible achievements in art, architecture, and religion, they continue to echo through history and absolutely fascinate us even today.